MMA presents Beyond the Cage Door podcast. Real people, real passion, real fights. With your host, Ryan James.
What is going on? I am your host, Ryan James, and this is AFP, Beyond the Cage Door podcast, where we talk everything from real fights to real passion and everything beyond the cage on this podcast here. And today I have the great pleasure, once again, as we dive more into the behind the scenes view at what goes on at AFP. I'm talking to Nikolai Gionti. How you doing, Nikolai?
I'm good. What's going on, Ryan?
Oh, man, nothing much, man. It's just before we went on here live, we were talking a little bit about this crazy Ohio weather, man. And it's funny because I'm sitting like, in January, you expect the cold and like just the snow, whatever. But I'm literally out here looking outside my studio window, and it's like, it's fall vibes.
Oh yeah. We got wet rain. I got leaves on the ground. It's an Ohio winter because we'll get snow.
It's Ohio
tomorrow,
winter.
So check it out.
So let's get into it, man. I want to talk to you first. You want to give me a little bit of background about yourself, Nikolai, and just start from there. Then I want to talk a little bit about how you got into this MMA and commentary into the MMA world, period. But go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So born in Minnesota, raised here. I was there for a year. Done athletics all my life. I went to college and I went to Ohio University and have a journalism degree. And that is actually where a lot of the combat sports coverage and just kind of the passion for it came about. So really since probably 2011, 2010, I've been involved in the sport in some way. And I guess we're going on 15 years at this point. So it's been a fun journey.
Wow. That's awesome, man. So, when you got pulled into the world of MMA, and did you start off as a fighter?
No. So I went to school for journalism with the plan of covering sports. I wanted to cover fights. I wanted to cover sports. I wanted to do the whole thing. So I actually, originally I was getting media credentials for the old NAAFS events. I was traveling up to there, whether it was West Virginia or it was Columbus, Cleveland, covering the fight night in the flats, the pavilions. I was doing those. And at the same time was thinking I should start doing jiu-jitsu and understanding this sport a little bit better. So while I was covering it, I started training at a Helson Gracie school down in Athens, Ohio. It's run by Carlos Mendez. It's called One Academy now, but he was a blue belt at the time. He's a black belt now. So that's where I got my feet wet. And then I would come up to Lancaster, a place, I believe it's called Lancaster MMA. And I would train up there, and I just kind of found that I was, halfway decent at it.
Okay.
So I was mixing the running an MMA website. I think it might still be active through Fansided, but it was called Cage Pages. And then we were doing podcasts. So like I'd interview Jessica I, we had Darren Cruikshank, and I was just getting deeper and deeper into the fighting world. And kind of the joke I use now is like around my junior year, I decided I don't want to do a job where I'm going to, bust my butt, get zero recognition and zero money. So I decided to start fighting and get into the sport where I get zero recognition and zero money. But yeah, so I did some PR for a defunct promotion now. It used to be on Axis Fights, MFC, Maximum Fighting Championship. And then just kind of fell into my own MMA journey. So we can talk about that. We can cover that if you got any questions.
Oh, man, that's
a little
awesome.
bit different.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, going into first of all, how long have you been on board with AFP?
So I came in on the second fight. They did that AFP 101 they did. I saw that they were still looking for commentary, and I kind of threw my hat in the ring. I was like, look, guys, I got a degree in it. Obviously, I've been around this sport. So once I started fighting, went to Griffin Raw for a little bit. Didn't end there, but started a lot of my amateur career there. Went 6-0 in MMA. Went 2-0 in boxing, 1-0 in Muay Thai, turned pro. Ended up with Revolution Fight and Fitness, the guys down at Stout, PGH, and then I'd work a lot at Classic Fight Team. So I was working with guys like Dillashaw, Juan Archuleta, doing my strength and conditioning with Cheeto Vera and those guys. So it was really cool. But that kind of just like kept me involved with a lot of the names and the faces. And I've been lucky enough to help, Jessica and I have a pretty good relationship in terms of I was her main training partner for most of her fights. So
Nice.
I've had the nice opportunity to be able to stay involved and just kind of show the guys at AFP, like, look, I not only have I done it, I have a degree in journalism. I have a broadcast journalism degree, and I'd like to believe I sound a little bit more eloquent than your average fighter. So
right. And and that's the thing about it, the knowledge of the sports and being able to commentate, that's what provides a great commentator. It's just having that knowledge and being able to because when you're watching a fight, you can somehow even put yourself in their shoes and understand how they're thinking, having that ring experience, right? Having that cage experience.
Yeah, it definitely helps. You can kind of predict where people want to go with things. I'm still very active in jiu-jitsu, so that obviously helps. But it allows me to kind of be able to see where they want to go. And I think the hard thing, especially, I mean, I had 6 professional fights, so seeing some of the amateurs, it's nice to see the newer things. The hardest part is you're almost like you have to remind yourself that you were that person before.
Right.
So you can't be hypercritical. There's a lot of things that obviously you want them to do that they just, if you've been in the sport for 6 months to 2 years, you're just not going to know them. Like, I've been in it 15 years. I got tricks and tools that they haven't seen.
Yeah.
So you gotta, and I think it comes with just the experience of talking about it. You don't tend to criticize, and you can, but it's more, this is what I'd like to see, as opposed to, I don't understand why they're not doing this.
Right. I like that. So, walk me through when you're getting ready, like for instance, we got AFP 5 coming up here, February 21st, Cherry Valley Hotel, Newark, Ohio. So walk me through how you prepare from a commentator's lens for an event like this.
So I do it a lot like a coach. I've had an opportunity to scout for a lot of my teammates and training partners. And you have to figure out the lens of how this person fights. You have to figure out what they do well, what they don't do well, and kind of where their fight is gearing to it. Because if I have someone, case in point, we have Alex Poinar on this fight against Robert Presley. I'm not going to tell Alex to stay at range and try to box with Presley. That's not going to be a logical thing, and it wouldn't make sense for me to question why he's not trying that. Alex is 5'3", Robert's 5'8", right?
Yeah.
We have to understand. So it's a lot of scouting, seeing what their tendencies are. If I know that someone, case in point with our Mo Miller fight against our champion Ulu in the last one, we saw that Ulu could get taken down, could expose himself in scrambles, but he was very creative out of the clinch. And I think we saw that a lot. You saw that there were certain tie-ups he was going to be very different in. They weren't necessarily traditional wrestling scrambles, but I needed to understand the type of wrestling that he had, because if you just look on paper, you see Mo Miller, Division II wrestler at Notre Dame College, elite level wrestling, you go, oh, boom, wrestler, he'll take him down. And if you go into that mindset and all of a sudden you're like, well, why is Mo getting taken down? You haven't watched the film.
Right. I like that. That's a very good perspective. Just letting people know, because people, a lot of times, some people just think commentating is just, what's going on here? What are they doing? This, that. But like, you guys as commentators, you go inside the minds of a fighter, without even being ringside. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Poor commentary is pretty easy to do, and you can go in there unprepared and just read names and read fight stats. And it does take some research. Like, you need to be able to kind of deep dive and do a little bit of investigative journalism. Like, it is beneficial having a degree and understanding how to search the web for certain things, because amateur fights are hard to find. Amateur backgrounds are hard to find.
Yes.
And I mean, we had Ulu in this last fight. We had Bob Kalov.
Yeah.
Dovlop of Bob Kalov. Yeah. So trying to find that guy's amateur record or anything about him, it's a little deeper than a simple Google search.
Right, right, right. Oh yeah, definitely. And I would say, and the biggest thing that shows out about those fighters is when you get a fighter that, for instance, like we've really been talking about Wesley Armstrong lately. And
Incredible. I was so impressed with both of his fights that I've seen.
Yeah, and like I've been me myself just as a person spectating and growing more with the sport, because like Dave hit me to this whole thing. You know what I mean? And just watching, but one of the things I've always seen in the last 3 fights, I've always seen Wesley Armstrong, and he's a warrior. And I think I had him on a podcast a couple weeks ago. I'm like, dude, you're a warrior in the ring. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just like your whole attitude, you're going for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it's really cool. He's 3-0 and he's had some he's fighting for a title on this card. But
Yes.
he's had some adversity too. This wasn't an easy 3-0. This fight he looked incredible. He got a clean finish real quick. But that second fight, I mean, man,
Yeah.
he came out there with
Yeah.
a mouse on his eye.
He
Went through
did.
adversity, and that wasn't an easy fight. And those are what you want to see out of those amateur fighters, right?
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Do you want to go undefeated? That's great. Do you want to have all those titles and like everyone hyping your name when you start making the pro ranks and feeling like you got a shot? Of course. But your record resets to 0-0. And, those losses as a pro mean something. These losses as an amateur, it's a learning experience the same way. Like,
Right.
okay, you got subbed, you got knocked out, like whatever. And even Kobe Fair was a perfect example. He's a
Yes.
good quality pro now at Extreme Couture. That kid lost 2 or 3 times as an amateur, and it was stupid ways that he lost. But like
Yeah.
those are what if you're in this sport, you call them prospect losses for a reason, because those are, it's the same thing. You catch a veteran with 6-10 fights and maybe you're on fight 3 or 4. Same rules. They just know a little bit more tricky things. They're willing to go into those deep waters. My third fight was against a kid who was 4-6, and he was long. And it's like on paper that record looks bad, and there's almost a tendency that you want to think like I can just get this win and just go to the next one. And those are the ones where you get caught. But it's nice to have those things on your amateur record, because all right, I was 6-2 as an amateur. Cool. It's gonna go 0-0, and then I can rattle off. We've seen some guys with not great amateur records put in some really high quality pro careers.
Right. And that's the whole thing about, being a fighter and going through that adversity, because, if you could like, you go 4 or 5 fights undefeated and ain't had a challenge, you begin to kind of worry a little bit. Sometimes you got to get that edge off and get you a good, maybe it could be a loss or it could come in the form of like that second fight Wesley had.
Yeah, I don't need a can crusher. I don't need a can crusher. I don't need a guy that crushes the can crushers. I want to see that, like, for lack of a better term, I want to see that you're about this life. Like, I want to see that, like, when it gets hard, like, we're going to be like, okay, I got body down my mouthpiece. I'm down 2 rounds and I might get knocked out in the third, but like, I'm going to go out on my shield, or they're going to carry me out on it.
What makes AFP, from your perspective, what makes American fight promotions different, from a lot of the other promotions? What have you been seeing?
I think one of the biggest things is they didn't oversaturate their fight year. They were smart. They did 4 fights this year, and they're doing, I think I heard something like, maybe a couple more, 6 this year or something. But that's smart. That's smart growth. And they've chosen good venues to do it. And it'd be really easy to rent a big, a Canton Civic Center or something like that. And and do 6 pro fights that are all big names. And I think we saw that with Driven MMA about 10 years ago. And it was a real bummer because it was cool. You had Wes Hansen, Coyote Rzuski, George Comer, Frank Caraballo, all those guys. The issue with like regional MMA is when you try to pay that many people, unfortunately, it's really easy to just kind of lose your ass on fight cards.
Right.
RFO, it honestly, it happened. I got put on a card. My opponent no-showed. I sold $6,000 of tickets. When they didn't show up, we got all those tickets returned. Their loss was my ticket sales. It's like, it happens. And so if you can grow these smart, and And, Dylan Budka, that's a UFC name, but he's also a regional fighter that's from this
Right.
area. So you're able to get a guy like this. They've built things very smart. And honestly, I've dealt with Nicole myself as a fighter, as a matchmaker. She's gonna give you tough matchups. Like, she's not really
Yes.
gonna play some favorites. And I'm never gonna call out anyone, so, like, I don't want this to seem like an attack on any other promotion, but it
Right.
is really easy to pick a gym or a certain group of guys and decide that you are just going to build their record the way you want,
No.
and they're gonna get easy fights. So it's been cool. Mo Miller, look, took a tough loss, and that was a tough fight. And a lot of promotions would have just stuck him with a guy that was probably, 6-6, 7-5, gave him a pro title. You get Mo a nice win, and kudos to Mo and kudos to AFP and kudos to Nicole for not wanting to do that.
Nice. And speaking still along the same line, like, what do you think, far as the momentum that the promotion within the last year has been getting, what do you think's fueling that? Like,
At the end of the day, I just think you need word of mouth with
Mhm.
with it, from the fighters, from the fans, from the coaches in the gyms especially. Look, you could say, "Oh, your commentary was great. Oh, the ring girls are great. Oh, the presentation is
Yeah.
great."
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, all of those things come back to, do fighters enjoy being on your cards? Do they feel that they were professional?
Right.
Were medicals and all of the commission things run well? What, were you not jerked around with opponents? And if you're a pro, did I get my pay? If they care of me a little bit, like,
Yeah.
those things are really nice. And I mean, I think we saw it. Look, I was one of the most outspoken people about it. Those two finishes between Jordan Tague's fight and Tim Bailey's fight were
Yes.
unacceptable. But look, they didn't hide that. And
Right.
kudos to the Ohio Athletic Commission for making that guy go back to training, from what I think I heard.
Mhm.
Um, but, like, making sure that a guy like that isn't gonna be there again, like, those are things that keep the momentum. Those are things that make your fighters feel safe. Those are things that make coaches feel safe, because I don't feel safe as a fighter if I'm going to be put in a position where I can't trust the referees that involved. So
Right.
if I know
Right.
that this guy is no longer a part of it, right, that's a quality aspect of the promotion as well.
Right. Definitely, man. Always, always. Nikolai, it has been really great talking to you, bud.
Thank
And
you.
I respect your commentator grind, man. You keep the fights exciting, innovative, and going, man. I can't wait to February 21st. When you touch down, man, make sure you get with me. I'll probably have a booth at this next fight, and I'll probably be streaming live. So
Yes, sir.
definitely stop by, man, and holler at me for a little bit. But looking forward to just seeing more of your work and throughout the year, man. I
I
appreciate it.
appreciate it. Yeah. Also, I'm going to shamelessly plug myself.
Yes, please.
If any of you fighters need a quality strength and conditioning coach, I'm right here. I've
Nikolai.
trained guys like Alonzo Turno. You can watch his last fight. I promise I know what I'm doing, and I got a pretty decent fight career. You can check me out on Instagram at Nikolai Gionti. I'll see you guys at AFP 5.
Sweet, man. Thanks for coming on, man. Nikolai Gionti, AFP 105. I got to take the one out of it, Dave. Let me take the one out of it. AFP 5 coming up February 21st in Newark, Ohio at Cherry Valley Hotel. I am Ryan James. This has been AFP MMA Beyond the Cage Door. You guys take care.
AFP MMA presents Beyond the Cage Door podcast. Real people, real passion, real fights. With your host, Ryan James.